Yep, otherwise they're going to have many more issues. But instead, though, they're taking us to the tomb of the Spider Queen.
Now, this is definitely not a map where I would like to see Twin Blade variant again, due to the fact that, you know, SPT, first of all, is not falling for it, and you are not going to face many one-on-one situations, right? You're not going to face many two-on-two situations, which sometimes happen on larger maps like Cursed Hollow, for example. But here in Tomb, it's guaranteed a 4 versus 4, 5 versus 5 almost all the time because distance in lane is so short, and as such, variant is probably just going to get bullied again if he doesn't go for taunt or kited or just being played with, whatever you want to call it.
Maybe he just won't play. Maybe we won't see Varian at all. Maybe he will get banned to make room for a Phoenix. That is actually a possibility we could see. But instead, Garrosh is the first ban by RPG.
And the Medivh is taken out of the equation this time for SPT. Now, that could be a tell. That could be a sign of them maybe going for something else other than Tracer. Or maybe they're just trying to bait their opponents into a false sense of security. Saying, you know what, we're going to ban Medivh, but gotcha, we're still going to go Malfurion Tracer, which is still very powerful. But Phoenix Tetra once again being deployed. Are we going to see an immediate variant response? Or is SPT trying to deal with the Protoss in a different way?
Is that the Rock Phoenix skin?
I don't think so. I was wondering the same. Like, I've never seen this particular head in the drafting screen.
The background is just missing.
But the Rock Phoenix looks a little different, the nature one.
Yeah, because like, I'm pretty sure actually his background is just missing because the head is just floating there. So that's good. Either way, it's coming in as the first pick. Here's Tracer and Tassadar. We did see Tracer, Phoenix, and Tassadar being used earlier by KSV earlier in the week, or last week, I guess.
And maybe that is exactly the reason why SPT wants to take it away. You know, maybe they too did watch the Korean games a couple of days ago, and they realized, you know what? We're just going to take something away that works so well for KSV Black, and we're going to implement it into our own draft. Because let's face it, Tassadar Tracer could very well just still work, especially on this Battleground Tetra. I think Tassadar is oftentimes an underrated hero, an overlooked hero, because his wave clear, especially if he goes for Sign Fusion at level 1, cannot be underestimated.
Absolutely. The extra damage and the extra radius on the storms means that your wave clear can be exceptionally effective, meaning you can rotate incredibly easily. And of course, it also allows you to, in theory, if you go for Sign Fusion, Force Wall can actually go really, really well here in terms of zoning, because the map has many closed off points. Wouldn't work so well against this team. It would maybe catch Uther, but the fact is Phoenix could teleport, Genji is hypermobile, so Force Wall wouldn't work so well here. But in some compositions, it can fit in, not this.
Unless they pick a hero like Diablo, for example, who can basically make plays all by himself there if he, you know, uses Shadow Charge to slam someone into the Force Wall, which is something we have seen multiple times here. And SPT actually bans out the variant, although it could have been the pick for them to maybe deal with Phoenix. But it looks to me like this is a precaution measure, so they want to take away the one counter to Tracer pre-level 10, which of course could have been a taunt variant. So instead of focusing on countering the Phoenix, they want to make sure that their own Tracer doesn't get countered by the variant.
Yeah, it's interesting where both teams could get the variant, but instead are going to ban it because it counters them. That is a strange scenario to find ourselves in the middle part of this draft. But now let's see what SPT do get. They still need a tank. They still need a main support. With Malfurion removed, we're down to Rhaegar, Stukov, both of which still pretty reasonable with Tracer.
Yeah, I wouldn't hate a Stukov. Basically helps with potential Force Wall plays as well. If you drop the Force Wall and then the Lurking Arm slightly behind, so you prevent Genji or Phoenix from using their escape mechanisms to get to safety. So that could certainly be a possibility here. Garrosh, by the way, banned as well, so that could leave Diablo as the go-to warrior up to this point. Misaka for SPT plays a tremendously dangerous Diablo, and there he goes, immediately being locked down next to the Blaze as well. So we once again have these bunker plays available. It's so cool to see how SPT at this moment becomes the only team in China who consistently relies on Blaze. Every other team seems to greatly ignore the Fire Bat or just not enjoy it.
Yeah, it's literally just SPT. It's their one trick.
Yeah.
As we see an Arthas this time against SPT and a Ragnaros. Very effective on this map. So, solo tank Arthas, it has been done before. It can be very effective. I wouldn't mind. I'm going to jump into the camp of Trixler here and say, due to the low amount of immediate lockdown they have, I wouldn't mind a Lava Wave.
You know what? I think Lava Wave is a possibility here. As you said, it's great wave clear. It's can be a dangerous team fighting component as well. And especially if you take a look at SPT with all the protection and all the escape mechanisms they have, right, to dodge a Sulfurious Smash. Tracer just dashes to the side, recalls, Tassadar has Dimensional Shift, Diablo is too tanky, we have a bunker in play as well. There's just so many tools that could render a Sulfurious Smash rather useless. Keep in mind though that they rely on Tracer as the only true assassin here. Of course, Tassadar has his own damage to contribute in those team fights. And they go indeed for CZH's Stukov, which is a very solid thing to do. So they have good AoE healing, good burst protection with Tassadar shields, no shield shredding actually, and a solo tank Arthas who could sometimes struggle when it comes to locking someone down due to the lack of gap closers that the hero has.
So in terms of, you mentioned there's no shield shredding on either team. This is correct. There is percentage damage, technically, for both teams.
True.
Ragnaros has a percentage damage talent at, I believe, 13, maybe 16. It's one of those later talent tiers. And Tassadar also has a percentage damage talent, and of course Diablo with his devastating
Tracer
charge.
too, if she goes for the Spike Bomb, which has been nerfed tremendously. That's oftentimes the reason why we see the lower cooldown now, you know, on those bomb charges. So
still no slow bombs.
Still no slow bombs.
Maybe we can start. Maybe we're going to start seeing it with combined with Phoenix.
Yeah.
I didn't even check to see if that's what they went for in Korea. Who knows? It might have already happened and I missed it. But yeah, options are available.
Yeah, and especially, you know, if you go for the attack speed on Phoenix at level 7, if you go for the Warp Warfare, which we saw actually in the previous series as well, and you combine that with the 16 talent with the offensive cadence, then you will basically deal a tremendous amount of percentage damage on your repeater cannon. So maybe that could be the weapon of choice to deal with Diablo in place. We're going to find out more about it, though, in game number 2 here between RPG and SPT, with Chicken for RPG on the Phoenix, MJ on the Uther, Saw playing Genji, C on the Arthas, and Timeless playing the Ragnaros this time.
Whereas on the right-hand side, currently 1-0 up, it is Super Perfect Team with Molly on Tassadar. We have Melly C on the Tracer, Misaka on the Diablo, Soap on Blaze, and ZZH on Stukov. So, yeah, the person who came in to replace Jen Zhao moved to the Tassadar. This is where we're seeing that they're not fitting in as well as we might have hoped.
Yeah, sometimes we make jokes about it, right? Whenever Tassadar needs to be picked, you basically put your weakest mechanical player on it. Of course, that is not always true. Just think of all the great Tassadar players we had in the past, like Nuruk, for Team Liquid in the past in Europe. We had Melody C actually last year fulfilling the role of Tassadar, and he's by no means a weak player mechanically. So yeah, don't let yourself get fooled when someone needs to play Tassadar over and over again. Melody C, by the way, doing a great job against Saw, stopping his auto attacks altogether when the deflect is up. Misaka now in trouble, gets slowed over and over again. Can he survive though?
Chicken not dropping enough damage onto Misaka for now, and as such, Misaka does live. Very few souls he has, Storgaze value, and a Devil's Due. This time we do see advanced targeting, the talent we thought we'd see in the first game, but first time we have seen it in China.
Exactly, so every time Phoenix hits his Q beam on an enemy hero, his attack damage will increase slightly. And you can actually get some insane late game value if you go for this build. By the way, it is indeed the Rocky natural Phoenix skin. It looks just super weird during the draft.
Yeah, but its head's just hovering in general.
Hovering skull.
Doesn't know where it is.
That was it. It looks really cool in game though, so I'm definitely digging the swag that Chicken brought to the table here. Needs to be careful. Like, I think on Phoenix, it's so important to manage your shields, right? Not expose yourself too much to enemies. Don't get caught by spells like Tassadar's Psionic Storm all the time. Especially AoE abilities can sometimes really mess with Phoenix's survivability when he doesn't pay attention to them.
Exactly. Phoenix is fantastic for laning. This is the joy that you can get from him. He is able to see getting absolutely outfueled there by Sar. But the fact is, Phoenix, he has more range than you do most of the time. He does AoE damage, so as long as you're standing next to the minions, you're going to get poked. And if you poke him, he pulls back and regens his shield. If you are just soloing in a lane against Phoenix, he will likely win. However, it makes more sense to put Phoenix in the multi-person lane due to the fact that Phoenix can still get out hard engaged in the solo lane, and also the fact that he is still incredible damage output means he makes a lot of sense to put in with the main group so they can follow up on any kind of engaging gank.
Yeah, similar to other stacking heroes like, let's say, a Crash Lightning Thrall, it's normally a little bit of a waste if you put those heroes in the solo lane because they won't be able to stack up in the early game. If Phoenix were to be the solo laner, which I agree with you, he's really good at doing, then he wouldn't be able to stack his advanced targeting as much as he could have otherwise. So I agree with the decision here made by RPG. They're trying to get some damage onto Melody C. And already, this is a different breeze, right? This is a different pace of the game here for Tracer already. Getting focused much more efficiently. Not really able to play as aggressively as in game number 1. So Melody C already has to be in his tippy toes in order to not get caught early.
Speaking of on tippy toes, not being caught, emergency protocol coming in for the Phoenix here. When the shield is down,
fast tippy toes.
Extra movement speed.
Yeah, so basically whenever the shield gets depleted, Phoenix gets a nice boost in mobility, gets more movement speed, and allows him to run away. And that, in particular, becomes very interesting and very useful when someone like Tracer ends up chasing you, who has more mobility than you under normal circumstances. So that additional movement speed after the shield gets depleted can really help you escape and chase as well. Misaka now going in very aggressively, very confidently, but gets chucked down quite fast here as well.
Using that extra movement speed, takes a pulse bomb, but is able to survive, grabs the fountain, will be regen pretty easily and without too much trouble. We'll move on later in the game. Now then, Misaka trying to get Genji, but Genji just literally leaps over his head, took off with a nice silence though to punish Zara, and then actually drops a good third of his health off. This time wraps around, grabs some stacks, he has gone for the Q question talent level 1, and retreats back to the bot lane.
Now, it's very important on Tomb of Spider Queen to basically track the health bars of your opponents, because if you drop someone really low, like the Genji was here a couple of moments ago, then you can use that moment in time to basically force a turn-in, right? Realizing Genji's still not fully recovered, we may have a better chance now making a team fight happen. CZH dropping the Lurking Arm to no great effect, though. You see the increased life leech, by the way, on Tracer for Tassadar at level 4. The leeching plasma, very important, very useful for Tracer. Uh-oh, Lurking Arm, and the Spike Bomb. There we go.
Oh, like you said, lovely combo there coming in from the Diablo. Diablo really set that up, just a wonderful overpower.
Yeah. Really well done here. Also, the Lurking Arm was used in time at the perfect moment to prevent Phoenix from warping to safety here. And all of a sudden, ooh, that was a clutch one for Misaka, unfortunately, for Sa. Or fortunately for Misaka, he wasn't able to punch through the gate. But yeah, I think we could actually see a force wall. Judging from how these team fights go and Misaka going in super aggressively, the follow-up being very good as well, I think the additional terrain that Diablo could use to get the bonus damage done from Shadow Charge could be the way to go to nail someone down like Phoenix or Genji.
The fact is there's 3 heroes who can actually be affected by it. Phoenix can teleport and Genji can leap and dash, of course.
Yep.
But if you're silenced by Stuttgart, so
exactly.
it is possible. I can see the logic behind it. Combat advantage, by the way, for Phoenix here. So the extra 40%, I think, damage to slow targets on that Plasma Cutter. He begins burning through that Web Weaver. Bot lane going slightly less well, but the joy of a Molten Core Ragnaros, able to actually siege a little bit of damage onto the bot lane before he heads down there himself.
Yeah, we saw a little bit of damage go down in that bottom lane indeed, as Tetris said, due to the short distance in between the lanes. The range of Molten Core is super efficient, is super useful on this map, so I need to be careful not to get hit by the Web Weaver. He was already brought down low. Double Howling Blast connecting its SPT, but no damage really has been done up to this point. Tracer even is so cheeky and so greedy to go in and drop the ult of your chicken in trouble. Actually, Diablo kicking him out and throwing him out of the Lurking Arm sounds. That actually would have been the death, I'm sure. So slight misplace here for SPT, but sometimes it's really hard to make those combos work in the first place.
Yeah, the speed boost as well, just getting him out of danger. Seriously, that's so far. That speed boost has saved his life so many times. He is still, however, being forced to pull back. The amount of pressure is being knocked onto him. Nice damage onto Misaka there, even a couple of those phase bomb attacks as well.
Now, if we take a look at overall wave clear, I think it's safe to say that SPT up to this point is out-rotating their opponents with wave clear from Blaze. Hold that thought. Arthas nailed down to the wall. Can he escape? No, he can't. See, never mind. One more auto attack. There goes the Lurking Arm and finishing off Arthas. But yeah, Tetra, back to the wave clear point, right? Up to this point, the Blaze, the Tassadar Storms, the Diablo, everything just seems to work out for SPT. Those lanes are always pushed in against RPG. They can never leave their base, it seems.
Yeah, and even though the fact they are getting basically every minion they could possibly want hand delivered to them, RPG can't seem to soak this up. They're getting outlaned, and the amount of kills being picked up by SPT means that they're about to hit level 11, while RPG is still only just about to hit their own level 10.
Now that level 10 has arrived for SPT, we don't see the Force Wall after all, like we suspected. We see the Archon, which of course adds additional single target and slight splash damage as well. And that could also work, you know, if you lock someone down like Phoenix or Genji, you really have that additional oomph to really execute those targets more quickly. And we see a nice turn-in for RPG. Now, how much can they get out of this? The bottom Mercenary Camp being unlocked here for SPT to basically keep the bottom web viewers in check. And all lanes are pretty comfortably pushed against for our SPT, so they don't have to worry about losing towers immediately.
We are sticking with the Sulfura Smash, not going for any kind of lava wave, waiting clear here.
X-Strike.
Yeah, the X-Strike for extra burst damage. They're going in for an all-in burst, just relying on the Arthur's Brute sort of as they're engaged here. And of course, even more slow synergy to combine with Arthur's performance purification salvo. Nice teleport away by Chicken.
Yeah, that is actually a really solid point you bring up there, right? Arthas' permanent slows provides so much potential value for the Purification Salvo, which gains extra damage on slow targets, right? So not only Phoenix's own slow on the Q, but also Arthas' Frozen Tempest, of course, proves to be so useful here. For the same by the same token, we oftentimes see Jaina as a potential addition to Phoenix. Everything that slows consistently can be considered a worthwhile investment in the draft. So how much value is the Purification Salvo going to see, though? We see the Overwatch duel here, Melody C and Genji. And Melody C actually brought down super low the Sulfur Smash, trying to execute her, but failing to do so.
Ambitious attempt by Timeless, not landing. Now we see an Overwatch versus StarCraft duel with Saab once again forcing another hero to back up away from him. Saab, so far, has been kind of dominant in these 1v1s, but has yet to really come to bear in any other situations. Diablo finds Sar alone, but isn't able to pick up the kill. Here's the turnaround. Chicken dropping good damage onto Melody C. Nice interrupt on most of the turners, but the 23 gems don't happen. Nice extract to the interrupt, and even dashing away to prevent Soak from killing stuff.
Yeah, the extract was used there to interrupt, but that also meant that Genji no longer had an escape tool available, right? So he essentially bought his team a second, and that was it. They had to back off now. They run out of cooldowns. They ran out of momentum, and 13 now being so close as well. I don't think using X-Reg there was actually worth it. Now it's going to be on a significant cooldown. You won't have to defend. If they get this kill on Diablo, though, that could be huge. But look at the protection by zoning from CZH. Marvelously done, catching the entire team of RPG.
Wonderful Lurking Arm, giving him that defense potential as they begin their siege off this mid lane. Once again, multi-core, like you said. But in the meantime, while it is defending this mid lane, Blaze is pushing top. Tassadar has finally started to drop some damage onto that bot lane as well. Ragnaros, you can see, is down. He knows mid is clear, so he started on top, but no one else is up there. That fort is gone. Maybe efforts might have been better focused on the bot lane that could have potentially been saved. Instead, we're going to see an attempt to kill onto Soap, trying to get value that way. There's the bunker to cleanse the slow, and Soap is able to pull back.
That bunker placement was so good. It completely shut down the angle of any heroes from RPG to really chase down the Blaze, right? And then we have the retaliation strike coming in from Melody C, Soap, and CZH. C is still mighty healthy, though, runs into the ability of the web viewer, takes some significant damage as well, and needs to retreat altogether. And although the web viewers have been cleared off for the most part, this is still a significant amount of damage that SPT can inflict into this tower defense line, because guess what? If that boss gets taken at any point in time, I think that is almost a guaranteed keep.
Continued shots coming in, yeah, with the gate so low, there's one tower is going to be enough. As long as they push with it, it should be a keep. We will see if they're able to do that. Ricochet still coming in for Tracer. This is the go-to talent, it seems, these days, at least in China, due to the fact that Bullet Spray requires you to go in, you have a lower health pool, it's much riskier. So having this Ricochet means that we can stay at range a little bit more and still keep up your damage output with the increased damage, attack damage that Tracer has, not her reworked, but since her changes.
Now RPG has a numbers advantage here because Blaze has been busy doing the bottom mercenary camp. Of course, now they realize, you know what, that merc camp has just been activated. Let's try to go for a team fight here potentially. But LDC does not back off. He actually turns the tide and goes in aggressively onto C, bringing him down to 40-30%. This could be a dead Arthas.
Plasma value, ricochet value, right? It's going to be, in fact, Genji that goes down first. Purification salvo drops a little bit of counter damage, but Arthas still falls. MJ and Chicken also in trouble. MJ is gone. Chicken will escape Timeless. Fueling. I like the idea there. Just in case Tracer came back in for a final hit, drops the Soft Mirror Smash on himself. Does not work though, but he does survive. That is important.
That is important, and look at the self-sustain here provided by Tassador and CZH. They're going to take this boss down with just the 3 of them, while the remaining members for SPT can already turn in their gems. I'm not really sure how many Tassador and Diablo had in the first place. Diablo actually going all the way down, trying to scout and maybe even bluff a potential invade here. Look at Timeless, by the way. He cannot die. He's the richest person alive in the game right now. If he ends up falling and his team not being able to recover all those gems, I think they're never going to be able to have a single turn in again.
Misaka backs up. ZZ.
Waiting.
This is risky. Super risky. Holding the turn and finally able to do so now that they see all the members of RPG down in the spot lane. Now the strategy is to hold RPG down here as long as possible and try to prevent their turn in.
No way!
They don't get it. Timeless gets his gems in last second. Phoenix, he doesn't block the damage of the pulse bomb, but he does escape. That's the important bit as Genji is wiped here. Multicore has been dropped, and as such, a full retreat as Chicken goes down.
Wow.
No purification salvo. And
trapped.
guess what? Timeless is about to get surrounded. Drops the stun.
Gems.
Shows he's in trouble. He's already spent his gems, so he knows he's kind of he's okay to die here. Well, not okay, but he's not as bad as it could have been. He actually grabs the gems trying to leave, but down he goes. And, well, Web Weavers are on the way. Uther is now just defending top lane with that Web Weaver.
Yeah, the Web Weavers has been, they have been summoned, as you said, by RPG. I didn't even see Timeless paying all his gems, but that was good. That was really good for them. They keep their opponents at bay, preventing them from getting a keep up to this point. But man, Misaka has been turning it up in that team fight. Nailing down the Genji mid-air, always blocking the enemy team's retreat path. So that was so well done, Misaka. And as we said, he becomes this unkillable monstrosity in the face of RPG, right? Without the 16, without the percentage damage available just yet for RPG, it is going to be so hard to take down Diablo and prevent him from wreaking havoc.
Pressure being dropped here. Chicken, couple shots here and there. Cube onto LDC. Trying to drop him. But
no way.
SR once again. Every time at this point. The massive shove completely disengages.
Double stun, slows.
No tank wrap around. This is the forward.
Tetra, you cannot die there as a Genji. I know Misaka has been doing a lot of work as a Diablo, finding those good engaged spots, but you cannot die in an open lane. He wasn't even thrown against the wall. He was just merely, you know, they even had a Divine Shield and a Cleanse available, so I'm not sure if those were actually used. I didn't really pay much attention to it, but you cannot afford to die. This is basically now an open invitation for SPT to take everything they want to in the middle. Look at the damage on time as well. His multicore should still be on cooldown as well. That, of course, is what SPT knows very well. And as such, they're trying to utilize this advantage here, the momentum with the Mercenary Camp, the minions, and their full force of the team.
Pressure. Arthas charges through using the extra movement speed from Ragnarok to try and get him in with that blast wave, but Tsar once again is the first one down. Bolton Core interrupted, clutch charge by Misaka, and that's probably going to guarantee this keep going down. 10 seconds, only a couple left until Timeless reappears. The Pulse Bomb still gets Phoenix, the teleport not enough to save him. Timeless gets a nice off Furious Smash, but down he goes, which means no more Bolton Core, and with the last member going down, that is likely going to be Core. GG! And SPT move on to the core and will take this in a 2-0.
Yeah, these two games have shown us what could happen to enemy teams when SPT is unleashed, when their drafts work like a charm, when they cannot be stopped, cannot be contained and shut down. Misaka in particular on that Diablo was my absolute MVP. He always seemed to have found that opening to really lock a target down. ZZH on that Stukov as well, providing perfect synergy, dropping the Lurking Arm exactly when it was always needed. And we can never discredit, of course, the lethal Tracer by Melody C here. Twice in a row he picked a hero, twice in a row he was completely unstoppable here. So a nice team effort in that game number 2 by SPT, leaving RPG no chance.
And with that, SPT keeps themselves in with an outside chance.